Today we're going to be doing a full budget overview for July where I'm going to show you my real numbers, where my dollars went. We're going to be stuffing cash envelopes, and we're going to be talking about my brand new sinking funds envelopes. I try sharing my story to remind readers that there is a way out. That with hard work, dedication, determination, motivation, it's all about having a plan for your money. And that's what gives you the true control. Holy crap, it just changed my life. They're like, oh man, Nico, it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes work. But no more credit card debt. Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Kamiko Love from thebudgetmom.com and liverichplanner.com, and today we're doing a full budget overview for my paycheck in July. So for over 9 years, I was budgeting my money every single time I got a paycheck, which used to be twice a month. But now that I'm self-employed, I get paid once a month on the first of every month. As a paycheck budgeter, it's my routine to do and create a budget every single time I am paid, regardless of pay schedule or income. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is a couple of different things. We're going to be going over my step-by-step process on how I create my budget paycheck and the method that I use and the steps within that process. We're going to be stuffing my cash envelopes, what that looks like, as well as my sinking funds. We're going to be talking about and going into some more detail regarding sinking funds. Lately, I've been getting a lot of questions on how I choose the specific value or goal amount for my sinking funds and how much do I save every single month to reach that goal. So we're going to be talking about all of that. First, let's talk about my July calendar. Now, this is the first step in my budgeting method. I use the highlighter method on my budgeting calendar. Also, for July, there is a savings challenge. We're calling it Generic July. That simply means stepping away from the name brands and saving more money by forcing ourselves to shop for store brands or generic brands. Now, most of the time, I go to Walmart, I usually get the Great Value brand, and what I've realized is I actually end up liking the generic brand more than I do the name brand. Now, for instance, taken for example, my half and half. Dairy Gold is usually $4.29 at Walmart, but you can actually get the Great Value brand for $2.39, and I like it more. So Generic July, it's all about challenging yourself to go more towards generic or store brand. That's the goal that I have written on top of my July budget calendar. For the highlighter method on your budget calendar, I have my colors representing a couple of different things. We have bills that are highlighted in pink, holidays in green, events in blue, and appointments in purple. July is kind of a special month. I'm actually going to be using 2 of my sinking funds in July. We have July 4th, as well as my boyfriend's birthday, which is happening on July 15th. Both events, I have cash saved. I'm prepared. I do not feel pressured to use a credit card. So, as a once a month budgeter, I get paid on the first of every single month. I have it represented in pink. If you get paid multiple times a month, say the 1st and the 15th, right here, you're going to mark on your calendar those 2 different paydays in 2 different colors. You would then highlight what expenses you're going to pay with each one of those paychecks. This is kind of how I organize my budget calendar. This is your Bible when it comes to your budget. Most people, when they think of budgeting, they think of just paying bills, but it's preparing yourself for the future, making sure you're prepared for upcoming events, holidays, and appointments as well. All of those expenses need to be included in your upcoming budget for the month. So that's what you need to reference. This acts as a reminder. Once you have all that down and you have figured out what expenses you're going to pay with each paycheck, it's time to sit down and actually create your budget. So I currently use the Budget by Paycheck workbook. You can find this on budgetbypaycheck.com. Currently, we are sold out of the hard copies, but we are going to start pre-orders for this in August for our next launch in October, as well as there is a digital download version if you want to print the worksheets at home yourself. So I use the Budget by Paycheck workbook. This is the paycheck bill tracker, which is essentially my budget. work off of estimates. Now, because you should be creating your budget a couple of days before you actually get paid, which means sometimes you're not going to know your actual paycheck amount. For me, I use estimates. For your income, if it varies a lot, maybe you're getting paid tips, maybe you're getting paid every single day, or your paycheck is every other Friday and it goes up and it goes down. Budget your income on the worst case scenario, the least amount you think you're going to receive. It's better to budget your income under, that way you can make sure you can pay all of your monthly expenses, and if you have extra income, you can dedicate that to other financial goals a little later on. So I have two sources of income that I always get during the month. I have my business income, which is $4,232. I also have the income that my boyfriend gives me now. Me and my boyfriend live together, but we do our finances completely separate. We both pay half of the living expenses. I pay the bills up front and he gives me cash later in the month to repay me for those bills. So I just count his income, or the cash that he gives me, as income for the month. So total income is $4,732. Now, after you get paid, you're going to do a couple of different things. First, you're going to pay your bills online, which means you need to know exactly how much money to leave in your checking account to cover those bills. Whether you decide to have those bills on auto pay or you pay them manually, my recommendation is always paying those bills online, because if you're trying to pay all of your regular recurring bills with cash, you're gonna get really frustrated. Trust me, it's not going to work, especially even as an all cash spender. I'm telling you to pay the bills online. So what you're looking at here is my full month of regular recurring bills. We call these fixed expenses. These are bills that you have to pay month after month after month, like clockwork. They don't usually change very often when it comes to amount due and the date. So if you are currently on the first step of creating a budget, which is tracking your spending, one of the things that you want to look for is those regular recurring bills, and create what I call an expense list or a bill list. I pay my rent, which is $850. Now, I do get a lot of questions about my bills. I'm just going to come out and say in this video that this video is not to talk about how much my rent is, or why my food is so affordable, or why my daycare is so cheap. This is to show you the steps, process and method on how to create a successful budget in your life. So I'll go into some more detail about some of my regular recurring bills if they're a little bit off, but I have the regular AT&T, which is my phone bill, Hulu, Spotify. Now, keep in mind, I am debt free. I paid off all of my debt at the end of last year. So when that happened, I decided to add some of those luxuries back into my budget, things that I got rid of when I was really tackling debt head on. Things like Hulu, Spotify. I added cable back into my budget, which for a long time we ditched the cable and only had internet. Those are the wants that we kind of were paying ourselves now, because it was a celebration, kind of paying off debt, things that we can now afford that we didn't or weren't able to before. So house savings is, right now I'm on a savings journey to buy my first house with cash. $529 is college savings for my son. Now, if you're wondering about like my daycare, it's $100 a month. So I work from home, and I'm really lucky and fortunate that I'm able to keep my son home with me. Grandma does watch my son when my workloads get really heavy, which I give her gas and food money while she has my son. So that's why my daycare is a little bit low. As far as your regular bills, there are two things that should be included here up in the top area of your budget that a lot of people don't think about. One, it's going to be minimum debt payments. Minimum debt payments should always be a regular recurring bill. You have to pay them month after month like clockwork. Another thing that I want you to include in your bills, in your fixed expenses, are your regular saving contributions. If you have automatic saving contributions, they should be included as a regular bill in your budget. I also have medical, and then I have a cushion expense. So I use a zero-based budget, which means that every single dollar of my income has a plan somewhere in my budget. Every dollar has a purpose and is being spent. In the beginning, that used to make me feel really uncomfortable, because essentially that means that you're bringing your checking account down to zero every single month if you're spending all of your income. So I created what's called a checking account cushion. I like to keep $1,000 in my checking account at all times. That's for unplanned, unexpected expenses or online shopping if I need to do that, or if a bill is higher than normal. So if you are suffering from overdraft fees, I cannot recommend enough a checking account cushion. It has saved me so many times. So I do $280 a month to replenish my checking account cushion from using it from, like I said, online shopping or unexpected expenses. Once it gets above $1,000, I decide if I want to save that money or continue to grow my cushion at that time. Once you pay your bills online, all of my bills equal $2,683. If you subtract that from my income, I'm left with $2,049. The next thing you have to worry about after paying your fixed expenses is your variable spending. Those are the expenses that people kind of say, where did my money go? I got my paycheck, I paid my bills, I did some spending, and now the money is gone. This is where tracking your spending is going to come into play. So I have 7 categories when it comes to my variable spending, 7 cash envelopes: food, fun, gas, beauty, miscellaneous, household, and clothing. Now, clothing was just added in a couple of months ago to it's a new cash envelope category for me. I actually didn't end up using it last month, but if I don't use it, I'm saving it. So it's one of those things that I'm preparing myself for the future. It's like I have the money in case I need it, but I don't have to spend it if I don't have to. All of my cash envelopes, which I have fun cash envelopes this month. Brand new sunflower theme cash envelopes up in the shop. If you are liking the sunflower theme, these are now available in the TVM shop. I'll put a link in the description of this video. So these are the cash envelopes I'm using for July. Really, really, really fun. Couple of different things. My food envelope, which is this one here, and we're going to be stuffing these cash envelopes in just a second, but my food envelope I use for eating out and grocery shopping. Here is why I have never split this food envelope in two. I have found that I save more money at the grocery store when I do my grocery trips if I don't have an eating out budget category. It's not separate. I eat out, and how much we eat out is completely dependent on how low we can keep our grocery costs. So it's kind of become like a fun challenge for me and my family. It's like, ooh, let's see how low we can keep our grocery costs this month or this week, and then we can eat out maybe twice this week. So this is why I've never separated the two. Eating out is just not in my budget categories for my budget, but I do include it in my food spending. So fun is $100, gas is $150, beauty. One of the things, I'm a huge believer in the reward system. I've kind of found especially when I was going crazy intense with paying off my debt, I kind of lost myself along the way. I forgot about all the things that made me happy. It became save, pay off debt, debt, where I forgot to do the little rewards that made it worth it. So there's a reason why you are on a budgeting journey, and it's really important not to forget yourself along the way. So I believe in small rewards as you go along, because your budgeting and financial journey is a long one, and that sometimes it can get really daunting and defeating, and it can feel like, well, why the heck am I even doing this in the first place? And so I have a beauty envelope, and for the longest times, I use that for eyelash. I have eyelash extensions that I get done every 2 weeks, and I get waxes done every 4 weeks. Before I paid off my debt, it was small rewards. It was my $1 Coke from McDonald's. And if you look on my Instagram feed, I have a ton of pictures of me posting my $1 Diet Cokes from McDonald's. I did that once every week. It's a small reward. But as time goes on, learning to be happy about the small things, especially when you're tackling a huge debt load, can make all the difference in your motivation on your budget journey. So I also have a fun envelope. So after paying all of my regular bills, and we're pulling out cash, which I went to the bank today and pulled out cash for all of my envelopes, handed them my little teller slip, and I'll be showing you what that looks like here in a second, I'm left with $954. Now, any regular person, once you're paying your regular bills and your envelopes, a lot of people stop there. But what happens with the money you have left over? This is where prioritizing your financial goals is really important. You have to decide where is the best place to put that money. I don't have debt, so for me, all of my extra income goes towards savings goal. My number one priority at the moment is paying for my first house with cash. But I also have another thing called sinking funds. And I do have another video on YouTube that describes sinking funds. For the longest time, I saved in cash envelopes that look like this. These are my old sinking fund cash envelopes. It's saving a little bit every single month to reach a specific goal. This time, I've created something really fun. These are my new sinking fund savings envelope. They have a really fun tracker on the front with a category and tracker on the back. So you can track your beginning and ending balances when you add to your sinking fund, when you take away from your sinking fund. Here's my Christmas one, here's my Valentine's Day one for next year. The only reason I did not change out these is because these are the two sinking funds that I'm going to be using this month. 4th of July, I have all the cash that I need. These are kind of the holidays that before in the past, I felt pressured to use my credit card because I wasn't prepared financially. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, birthdays, anniversaries, weddings. Have you ever asked yourself how much you spent last year? Like if I were to ask you, how much did you spend last year on all these different things? It can be in the thousands. And people don't realize it because you're spending a little bit at a time. You swipe your credit card here, you swipe it there. I'll just pay it off later. I'll put the Christmas presents on the credit card this year, take care of it later. In my case, it never worked for me. I never paid it off later. I got my paycheck, I had different priorities, it went somewhere else, and then I was left with a huge credit card balance. So this is how I'm preparing myself for the future. Sinking funds. I save for all of my holidays events in these sinking funds. And I also, when I pull out cash from my envelopes, it does include my sinking funds envelopes as well. So I just wanted to show you very quickly the new sinking funds savings envelopes, which will be available in the TBM shop soon. So all of my sinking funds equal $239. That leaves me $715. Do you see how each area of my budget has a purpose? It's step 1, it's step 2, it's step 3. Now, of course, whether or not you're saving or paying off debt is determined by your financial priorities. For me, like I said, it's savings. Every extra dollar that I have, every penny that I have extra is going towards my house savings goal. With a zero-based budget, your total income minus your expenses should equal 0. I give you the formula right down here on the bottom of the budget sheet. So let's go ahead and start stuffing some envelopes. After you have your budget, now if you get paid multiple times a month, you should be creating one of these every single time you are paid or getting a paycheck. That means you'll also be pulling out cash for your cash envelopes every single time you budget or get your paycheck. Once that's done and you have your cash envelopes filled out, I fill out what's called a cash envelope breakdown. Have you ever gone to the bank and you say, I need to pull out, $500 for my cash envelopes? You get home and you realize, dang it, I don't have the bill denominations that's going to fit inside the envelopes that I need. So to make things really easy for you and the teller, it's easier to break down each envelope and your bill denominations. I use a cash envelope breakdown. So for example, I pull out the biggest bills to the smallest bills. I found out that early on in my financial journey, it's a psychological thing. It's a lot harder to hand someone a $100 bill than it is a $10 bill. And in fact, at the end of the month, I found myself time and time again, the cash that I had left over in my cash envelopes was usually my largest bills because I would spend my smallest bills first. And it's kind of this weird, it's a mind thing. And it's just something that I kind of picked up on along the way. So like for instance, food is $400. I'm taking out 3 $100 bills and 250s. You also want to be careful though that you're not taking out all big bills, because I run into some scenarios where I went to go pay and they say, oh, sorry, we don't accept 100, or we need a bill that's smaller than 50. So give yourself some wiggle room, maybe take out a couple of 10s, but for the most part, try to stick with the biggest bills that you can. So I have all of my cash envelopes, which equals $1,294. Inside the Budget by Paycheck workbook, you're going to see a sheet like this. These are teller slips. You're going to write down how much you need of each bill denomination, the value. You hand it over to the teller. Boom, bang, you got your cash, your envelope. So what I do is I start with the first one, lay it like this, and it tells me exactly what I need for each cash envelope. So 3 100s, 2 50s. Now, let me show you very quickly. For the month of July, I budgeted $400, but let me show you my June budget cash envelopes. As you can see, I have $1 left over for my June budget. Now, let's just say, for example, it was $20 left over. What do you do with that money? Do you roll it over into your new envelopes for your new paycheck? Do you save it? Do you use it towards debt? Here's what I recommend. Look, when you are planning out your budget calendars, you should be working a couple months in advance. So right now we're working on July. You should probably already have your August and September budget calendars done. But that way you can see, what events do you have coming up? Are you gonna need a little more spending cash in your envelopes for the future? Or if you're good to go, and you are being really intense with your financial priorities, paying off debt or savings, you wanna throw it all there. Because I have a house savings goal right now, everything that I can save is going towards that goal. So I'm not rolling over any extra cash from my envelopes from June into July. We're starting blank. So that's what I wanna show you very quickly though, what you do with that leftover cash. So $400, food envelope that's stuffed and ready to go. So right now, all of my cash envelopes have been stuffed. I have them all labeled, money inside, ready to go. What I do is, for cash envelopes, I don't carry all of my cash envelopes with me every single day, only the ones that I need, which means you have to plan ahead, figure out your day. Where are you going? Where are you spending your money? Are you going to the grocery store? Where are you gonna spend your dollars? That's gonna determine what you take with you. I do carry one envelope with me at all times. It's my miscellaneous envelopes. Have you ever had the spouse call you on your way home and say, honey, can you stop by the store and grab some milk? But you don't have your food envelope because you weren't planning on going to the store. Use your miscellaneous envelope, keep that thing with you at all times. That way, if there's unplanned, unexpected expenses, you have cash backup. So I have the Filofax Cefiano wallet. It has this really cool 6-ring binder system inside. It holds all of my cash envelopes for me. Now, like I said, I don't keep all of my cash envelopes with me at all times, but the ones I do, the fact that they can't slip out, I have a full YouTube budget overview of, or wallet overview going over this system and how much I absolutely love it on YouTube. I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video. So that's been done. Next, you want to take care of your sinking funds. So sinking funds, like I had mentioned, all right, sinking funds, like I'd mentioned, I'm using 3 new envelopes, 2 of the old ones. We're gonna take care of, this is my back to school, which we're gonna be talking about here very shortly, but this is, now it's time to move on to sinking funds. So 20, 10, 22. And what you want to do also is, on these new ones, write down how much you added to your envelope, and if you can, color in another line. Now, When you get to your last envelope, you know you did things correct if you have exactly the cash that you need for your last one. So I'm stuffing James's birthday. I should have $29 left. 25, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's exactly all of the cash that I pulled out for the bank. So now you have your variable cash spending ready to go for your pay period. You also preparing yourself for the future. You have all of your sinking funds funded and ready to go. So that is my full July budget overview. Oh, wait, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. Hold on, let me make sure I got everything. So that was my full July budget overview. Don't forget, if you're wanting the hard copy of the Budget by Paycheck workbook, pre-orders are gonna start in August with our next launch in October. You can find all of that information at budgetbypaycheck.com. And if you thought this video was helpful, please like it and give it a subscribe.